In the autumn of 1962, two ancient civilizations, India and China, both emerging from the shadows of colonialism and internal strife, collided in one of the most shocking border wars of the 20th century. The towering Himalayas, once a natural barrier that kept armies apart for centuries, became the silent witness to betrayal, miscalculations, and a military humiliation that would haunt India for decades. After centuries of isolation, China under Mao Zedong had emerged as a communist giant, fiercely guarding its borders and its ideological purity. India, under Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, envisioned itself as a leader of the non-aligned movement, promoting peaceful coexistence with its neighbors. When the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949, India was among the first nations to recognize it. Nehru even coined the phrase, Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, Indians and Chinese are brothers. But beneath this warmth, tensions simmered over undefined borders inherited from British colonial rule. The crux of the dispute lay in two rugged regions, Aksai Chin in the northwest, a cold, barren plateau claimed by India, but controlled by China, and Arunachal Pradesh, then called the Northeast Frontier Agency, in the northeast, claimed by China as South Tibet. The British-drawn McMahon Line that demarcated the northeastern boundary was never accepted by Beijing. As the 1950s progressed, both nations began to push their claims further into the high mountains, often without even knowing where the other's outposts were. In 1959, tensions erupted when the Dalai Lama fled Tibet after a failed uprising against Chinese rule. India granted him asylum, enraging Beijing. To secure Tibet, China built a road through Aksai Chin, unbeknownst to India until it was too late. Patrols clashed sporadically in the wilderness. Nehru's government, shocked by Chinese encroachment, initiated the forward policy, establishing new outposts in disputed areas to assert India's claim. The Indian leadership assumed that China would not risk a war, given its domestic challenges after the disastrous Great Leap Forward. But they were wrong. On October 20th, 1962, as icy winds howled through the Himalayas, the Chinese People's Liberation Army launched a coordinated assault. Waves of Chinese troops poured across the high passes, easily overwhelming ill-prepared Indian forces. Indian soldiers, many without proper winter gear or heavy weapons, found themselves outnumbered and outmaneuvered. The High Command in New Delhi, confident that China would never strike, was caught off guard. Communication failures, poor intelligence, and lack of roads made the defense almost impossible. In the western sector, China seized Aksai Chin and pushed Indian troops back. In the eastern sector, Chinese forces advanced rapidly into Arunachal Pradesh, capturing Tawang and threatening Assam. Panic spread across India. Citizens feared the Chinese might sweep down into the fertile plains of the Brahmaputra Valley. Nehru, once the champion of Asian solidarity, pleaded for military aid from the United States and Britain. Emergency airlifts of weapons began, but it was too little, too late. The Indian army, fighting heroically but hopelessly outgunned, could not stop the tide. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the war stopped. On November 21st, China declared a unilateral ceasefire and withdrew from the eastern sector, though it retained control of Aksai Chin, a status quo that persists today. Many historians believe China wanted to punish India, but not hold territory that would be costly to defend. The war lasted barely a month, but its consequences were profound. India's image of China as a brotherly neighbor shattered overnight. Nehru's vision of peaceful coexistence was replaced by a hardened resolve to modernize the military and build alliances. The sense of betrayal lingered in the Indian psyche, giving birth to decades of suspicion and an arms race across the Himalayas. China, on its part, had sent a clear message. It would defend its territorial claims with force if necessary. The brief war also exposed the limits of India's idealism in a world where power still ruled international relations. Today, the border remains disputed. Occasional standoffs, like the 2020 Galwan Valley clash, remind the world that the ghost of 1962 is never far from the icy ridges that divide these two Asian giants. The war that Nehru once described as a Himalayan blunder remains a lesson in the perils of wishful diplomacy and the unforgiving realities of geopolitics in the world's highest battlefield.